So today I have one of our successful students, successful case studies here. She is a brand new agency owner here, working with Launch My Agency, and she's in the real estate space. But what's really amazing about her is like her first client she's ever gone, she did $60,000 with, right? And that's just one client. So I'd love for Monica to kind of share her experience, a little bit about her background and things of that nature, and we'll get right into it. But right before we do that, if you guys are watching live, go ahead and type one down below. And if you're watching the replay, go ahead and give us a 2, like and comment, if you have any specific questions for Monica right here on the live, or maybe even after, you can go ahead and maybe even tag her if she's open to answering any questions if you're watching the replay. But with that being said, Monica, welcome to the Launch My Agency free Facebook group. Would love to get to know you a little bit, the viewers as well. And if you can just share a little bit about your background, and yeah, we'll kind of take it from there.
Sure. So I'm Monica Morgan. I actually have been in the property management sector of the real estate industry for the last 30 plus years. I have sat in pretty much every position, but back in 2018, I left corporate America. My inner entrepreneurial spirit woke up at 46, 47 years old, and I decided that I was going to be able to create services to better serve my industry by someone that had been in the industry. And I think that's very similar to what people are seeking here at LMA. They have a niche and a background that resonates with them. They've got that knowledge and wisdom, but they're learning to apply it in a new way. And so for me, when I launched my first business, which has been a 7-figure business since its inception, for 5 years consecutively, we've hit that. And from the ground running, year one. And so that's been really remarkable. I did try to break into the digital sector because I offer a lot of marketing opportunities and different services to the property management industry as a whole, whether it's student, military, or the standard conventional apartment community out there. And so what I learned in doing that, I knew the property management industry inside and out. And so I did not do some of the practices I learned at LMA when I launched my first business. It's been a bumpy ride as an entrepreneur. Entrepreneurship is a business or an industry that you have to keep going. You get knocked down and you get back up, and you get knocked down and you get back up. And I think that's really, in my time thus far, what has separated successful entrepreneurs from unsuccessful ones is that you don't let yourself get in the space of, I've been knocked down, it's misery, I can't do it, there's all this noise around you and all of those things. And so for me, I keep seeking opportunities and verticals that I can either more vastly reach the people out in my sector, in my space, and be able to provide value to them in a variety of ways. And so I tried to launch digital marketing as part of my successful business, and it really did not grow legs. And I think there was multiple reasons behind that. Some I learned during the adventure this journey through LMA. And so for me, I went through I came to LMA, and what I was looking for was that structure, that framework. I knew how to run a successful business and launch it and scale it. But what I didn't know was, that some of the bones that you gave us, which were, that research piece, was super critical. And I don't know that if I had the one piece of wisdom to share with anybody in the program or wanting to join the program, it would be that, do your research, and do your research with this hat or mentality on that you are in your ideal client's shoes. What do they want to hear? What do they want to see? Where are they going to see and hear it from? And who are they going to trust? And so I really took that part very serious and did my homework and my research. And I didn't do it just within the confines of LMA. I went out of that and I went and modeled after others that I saw, so I could pick and choose the things that really resonated and that spoke well to me. And so I think that honestly was the most incremental piece of success, was that pure act, because when I crafted the offer and I wrote it for that client, it's like you're in their head. If you get your messaging right, you're in their head. It's like you're reading their mind, and all they're doing is saying yes to you because they're like, their mind is blown that you know what you know. And I wasn't a digital marketing specialist. I'm a marketer. I know property management. I
Yeah.
got the basics, but I didn't know all the ins and outs, and I still don't to that point. And so for
And that's the
me,
thing, you don't have to, right? That's the
yeah,
beauty about it is you don't have to, right? You come in from the property management side of things. What it was 32 years, right?
35
In this
actually. It's been 30.
35 years. Actually, you know what? Let's pause for a second. I'm really curious myself, and I'm sure the viewers are as well. Why pivot and start a complete brand new business? Whereas, this digital marketing agency, why not kind of continue down the route that you were already at, right? It seemed like you were already successful. What made you really pick, like, you know what? I want to have a digital marketing agency.
Well, so interestingly enough, like I had mentioned, when I started as an entrepreneur, I launched 7 businesses, okay? And they were all fulfilling different needs within my niche. And so I ended up during the pandemic, year one, I started my business in the end of August of 2018. And in 2019, I just ran. I just hit the ground running and ran. And at the end of 2019, I stopped and I looked at what I had done and I was like, holy moly, I've sold $1 million in services. This is really crazy, like mind blowing. Like, okay. So I
By the way,
hired, go
sorry to
ahead.
cut you off, but by the way, I was just looking at the amount of businesses in the US, or I think in general, less than 5% of businesses will ever make over $1 million annually, right? So you're already part of the 5%. And I just want to tell the viewers as well, making $1 million plus is very, very difficult, less than 5% chances. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And, they say if you make it in your first 5 years. So long story,
Yeah.
2019, I hired some of the best in my industry and teed myself up for success. And then the 2020 came. Because that was the end of 2019 that I realized, okay, this is what I have to offer. So I hired up this team. I made a lot of rookie mistakes. I've made a lot of entrepreneurial mistakes, learned a lot of valuable lessons. I think that's part of it. I had to really reframe failure. I don't look at failure as I once did. Failure is a stair step and it's a learning block and an opportunity to do better. And you can really take those lessons and learn from them. And so I was super intent on keeping my team together. I had this booming crazy, awesome business that was proving to be something. And I wanted to keep those team members. So when everything shut down, I was very populated in the student housing sector, which really affected my business. And so, with the campuses shut down, I couldn't do a lot of the outreach marketing and services that I normally offered because everybody was in this unknown space. And so I hung on to my team and had these high salaries and not that revenue coming in. And that really caused a lot of heartache for myself and my husband and a lot of stress and financially, but hung on to that and kind of just bended and morphed after that, looking at my services. I made a practice every year of looking at what was most profitable. And I look at the time and what's the most, what am I going to get? What's the least output with the most profitability. And so I analyze every year that information and I prioritize my next year's sales and my goals and traction on that. And so one of those had been digital marketing, and it really just didn't go anywhere. I did a lot of influencer marketing for folks, but that was during that time, and it was a weird time. And I felt like during the pandemic would have been a great time to launch digital because everybody was so dependent on digital. But for my space, I think we were in such a weird space anyway, unknown territory, if you will, that no one knew what to do. And so post pandemic, I had to really relook at things and I reorganized my businesses under one helm, which became the pivotal companies, and never really took off from the digital marketing aspect. And so when I started, what made me want to pivot, and it's funny because my company's name is Pivot, is that I learned through my consulting agency that I needed agency and I needed recurring revenue. And so, yes, I'm doing $1 million in sales, but it's not on recurring revenue. And so to evaluate and have an exit strategy or sell or whatever I decide to do one day, I knew that I needed to morph. And so that's kind of what started me down wanting to create the digital agency. Once I went down that path and started with you guys and I started doing the research, I learned something really interesting. And that interesting nugget was that the majority, and this is kind of still a secret out there. It's not really a secret because it's public knowledge, but it's not talked about and discussed. The third-party management companies. So think about, Asset Campus or, Graystar or Cap, any of the management companies that are very large in the U.S. A lot of them bought small digital marketing agencies, which was really smart on their part because then they have 200 apartment communities under management and they auto enroll them into their digital. So in essence, it's like double dipping, but it's really a smart business move on their part. However, You flip that coin over and you look at it, and I'm an owner of an apartment community, and I've hired you as my management company, and you're doing an okay job. Maybe you're not doing a great job, but I don't know that you are also my digital marketing effort either on the front side, because it's going through your other company that you own that I don't know that you own. So long story short, I realized that pretty much 5 of the major management companies all had bought a small digital marketing company, and they were auto enrolling and just putting every one of their assets through those organizations. The problem with that in corporate America as a whole, and where my business comes in, is I take a boutique approach. And so we're not a one size fits all. You can't do the same thing for a property in downtown Indianapolis that's going to do well in College Station, Texas. And so I really look at it very differently like that. And when you have all your eggs in one basket, and you might not even know that you do, then you're just getting more of the same instead of somebody really concentrated on your asset driving what you need to it. And so that's really where that messaging came in that research when I started uncovering, because it's people I've worked with for years. I worked for one of these clients, and this is really an interesting nugget. I worked for a company that was my corporate America for a lot of years. They bought one of the it was a larger digital marketing company. I had no idea that they bought it. And my first client, ironically, is that company. And so one of the asset managers came to me and he said, "Hey, Monica, I have a property that's not performing really well. I would like you to come take a look at it." I said, "No problem." So we go out, we take a look at it, and we give our market analysis. And then we start researching what the digital company's providing behind the scenes. And it's not productive. It's not conducive to driving anything. It's throwing spaghetti at the wall. And so, yeah, they were paying more for ads, but they weren't getting any conversion. And so that really kind of launched it for us. It was like we landed in his lap through connectivity of our own, which was awesome, and we've been doing a ton of outreach on LinkedIn and things like that. But we also were able to get messaging in our offer that really resonated with folks. And what ended up happening is I was super excited. My offer was for $5,500. Okay. And it was kind of on the lower end, but on purpose. It was an introductory offer. I cut it in half price for the first few. And what ended up happening with this client is that I was able to sell them multiple campaigns for different reasons. And so this client had leasing that occurred quarterly versus annually, and they needed quarterly campaigns running. And then they needed a campaign that was general running. So I was able to not just sell them one $5,000 package, I sold them 3. And then I went ahead and created it over the course of the year. I just said, okay, if you go ahead and sign now, here's what the pricing is going to be for this period of time. And here's what it normally is. And here's the length of the contract. And so it ended up being a $60K contract, which was pretty remarkable and amazing because I got hype about one.
Monica, you're not going to just pass through $60K from your first client without me ringing the bell. All right. Amazing. Congratulations. And remember, actually, what's crazy? We were just talking about earlier, businesses that make over $1 million a year, less than 5%. You made $60K from one client. Which means, I think the technical math is like $83,333 you have to make per month. You already did 60 grand with one client and you had no agency before, right? Let's kind of pause on that. Let's kind of backtrack a little bit. Like right before you came into LMA, what are some of the things that we helped you with? And what are some of the things that, you kind of were the big aha moments? I know we talked a little bit about the offer, specifically the research part, but if you can go a little bit deeper into kind of how, our team, Chris, the CSMs that we have, the technical team, the whole 8-figure team that we give to you guys, how they helped you really position yourself to be able to land the $60,000 client as your first deal ever.
Yeah, I think it was just a combination of, some of who I am. I think you have to have that drive and energy and that not get knocked down. You have to have that get up and go and repetitiveness of perseverance. That's the word. You have to persevere. And I think when I first started, I was looking for that framework, the bones. And I think you guys give the good bones of it. And it enabled me to be able to visualize the steps of what I needed to do, when I needed to do them, so that I could launch successfully. And obviously for all of us, it's been nerve-wracking. And you're like, is this going to hit or is this not going to hit? And how's it going to work out? And what's going to happen? And am I going to spend a bunch of money on ads and it not, hit right? Or all of those questions come in. And I think for me, having that framework, and that's what I was so interested in, and that's really what grabbed me, was that I wanted somebody that had been there, done that, to be able to say, here's the steps that work, and they're going to be a little bit different, but if you follow these steps, not, and it's not solely that you're going to follow those steps. That's what I really want people to understand, is it's going above and beyond what you give. And so the agency gives you that framework and those bones, and Chris is great at holding you accountable and following up with you and checking in, but speaking to you in a way that you need and want to be reciprocated with, which has been helpful because I'm a type
For the
A.
viewers, sorry, Monica, for the viewers who may not know who Chris is one of our customer success managers. He's worked with some of the best, I'm not going to say names, but he was one of the best copywriters in the world. And, he is one of the people that we work with who help our clients one-on-one, right? So one of the things that we do that really separate us from the crowd is having unlimited one-on-one support, right? Yeah. And not some through random, like a VA or anything like that. It's like actual someone who knows marketing, who has digital marketing agency experience, right? So you want to touch on that a little bit, Monica?
Yeah, I think, Chris was really good at laying it out for me, making sure I understood, following up with me. Like I was saying, I'm a type A, but I'm also a very busy person. I've got, 3 to 4 businesses going constantly and a lot of things going on. And so he was just help me stay the course, hold me accountable, kind of give me other things to think about. And sometimes I would punt him back and say, no, this doesn't work for me. And he would say, oh, let's talk about that. And it was really nice to have that sounding board of someone that can kind of like, he knows what works and doesn't work, but is able to take in what you say from your niche and what's important to you and what your ideal client wants to hear or needs to hear, and help you craft that messaging. And so for me, that was super helpful. I need that accountability and that check-in piece personally, because I'm all over the place and I'm terrible at homework. But I think
that's all entrepreneurs though, right? Like we're all in the same page. Just like, we completely understand. But
you're like here, there, and everywhere.
That's just how it is, right? In the beginning. Yes. But yeah, that's one of the things is like, people are always thinking of like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do? But one of the philosophies we have is like addition through subtraction. What are some things that we shouldn't be doing? Right. And that's a big part of not only maybe, I'm not sure for you specifically, but at least on my end, like when we also are part of masterminds, right? Similar to kind of like how you are with Launch My Agency. A lot of the things we look for is like, we want someone who knows like a little bit more than us to come in and say, hey, you guys shouldn't be doing this, right? Versus let's do this. Because what happens is, especially in this space, it's so filled with fluff. People, they watch like a few YouTube videos and they just come in and say, oh, you got to do this, right? But true professionals will look at what you're currently doing and it's like, what's the 10% that's going to move the 90% for you versus me just giving you a bunch of stuff, right? That's the true professional. So that's something that we personally look for as well. Monica, would you say something similar as well? Kind of like how we handled, your account. Would you say something similar was like that?
Yeah, I think so. I think, there was a couple of pieces to it. Like I said, the research was really an aha moment for me, but also just, it left my brain just now. Sorry. I think having that, like you said, I surround myself with people that are smarter than me or, that know more than I do, because I'm in a constant desire to learn. I want to know more. I want to learn. I want to grow. And so I think that enabled me to be able to do it, and having the framework and the outline of here's the steps you need to do. And here's the support. Raise your hand if you have questions. The other thing that really stuck out, here's what I was going to say that you guys preached early on, that I would give advice to most people, everyone going into this, would be that don't get stuck on perfection. And that's hard. That's really hard to do. So I had to tell myself that over and over again, is progress over perfection. Keep the needle moving, because like you guys say, I've heard in your videos where you're like, you're going to change your logo 16 times and you're going to change your offer multiple times. You're going to come up with 86 names. And it will land where it needs to land if you let it grow, evolve, and get the legs it needs to do that. So I think that was really a huge takeaway for me, as well as Chris Freeman helped me stay on focus without getting hung up in the logistics. And so sometimes that was hard, if I'm being honest, as an entrepreneur, and with my mindset, that was challenging, because I wouldn't say that my logo landed exactly like I wanted it, or it had the colors or the aesthetics or whatever it was, but it worked, and it was what it needed to be to get the progress out there. And I knew I could perfect it down the line, because I knew from having my own first business I've redone its website 3 to 4 times, and its logo's been modified and those kinds of things. And so I think you have to be open, and you can't get stuck in just the rigidity of following just the steps. You have to rise above and want more than that. And you have to be willing to
100%.
go out and get it.
Yeah, and you know what's really funny and interesting about logos or branding or websites is that is mainly for us as owners, right? We want when we see it, it's like we could get that sigh of relief. But the thing is, your customers, your potential clients, they don't really care that much about like a logo. They care about what you can provide them, right?
Yes.
So then I have a crazy example for this. I mean, I don't recommend anyone doing this, but I have a friend. His name is Cole. He does right now. He does 5.5 million cash per month. All right. So when he first launched his company, he didn't even have a website up until he started making 800 grand a month. So he was making 800K a month without a website. Right. And again, I'm not saying you should do this, but it's a good learning lesson of like when we first start off as entrepreneurs, we're like, oh, I want this perfect color. I want this perfect color code. I want this logo to be like this. And when I say we've been through there as well, right? I don't know about you, but like when we came up with our name, it took us 4 months to come up with our name. Right. And you know what we came up with? It was cans. Right. So that's just our initials. 4 months. I wish someone told us like, dude, no, it's not important right now. Like people don't really care. They only care about what you can offer them specifically, right? So that's something that, we can definitely resonate with. And a lot of the clients that come in, it's like, they're so hung up with that perfect, website. It's like, it's not to say it's not important, but there's other things that are important, such as creating demand, right?
Yes.
Another big mistake people make is like, they try to fulfill on the demand that there is no demand yet. They just try to fulfill on something, but it's like, because there's just that little bit of nervousness, right? So, for those clients, we offer our fulfillment team, right? The whole fulfillment team becomes your team now. So you want to talk a little bit about that, Monica, of like how that made you feel just coming in as like, okay, I don't have to recruit. I don't have to hire. How was that when it came to you just focusing in on the front end, just lead generation and sales?
So I think that was a little bit bumpy, if I'm being honest, on our end. It was, it was hard. I think that how I thought things would go and how they actually went weren't aligned necessarily. But I think that some of the hiccups along the way created pause that needed to be created, right? And so I think that from a fulfillment stance, I haven't personally, being in full transparency, I haven't been fulfilled by cans. I've just launched that first client, and I've got my own fulfillment because like I'm already running a business. Yeah. And so I'm not having to go that route, but I love that if I explode, that opportunity is there. Or when I explode, we'll talk about
100%. Yeah, and that's one of the things. It's like we make it very customized for you, right? So it's like cans is there, but you don't. It's not like you're boxed into it, right? It's like as a last resort you can, but if you have someone else, definitely do that. And we even provide some frameworks, SOPs on like how to manage those people as well, if you'd like. So definitely, that's definitely there.
Yeah, and I think too, and then I misunderstood, some of the a setter and the closers. I was really, because I'm a very strong I could sell sand and I have strong sales skills. Not everybody does. And I think that's important. If you're not a salesperson, don't try to make yourself be one. The best thing you can do for yourself is show up authentically and be human and be a person and let them see the true you. That builds that know, like, trust factor we talk about a lot. And so I think that you being able to communicate what you can deliver and feel good and confident in what you can deliver and know that it's going to be taken care of is super important and critical. And so I think having that there was like, oh gosh, if this, because I have now 3 appointments scheduled with management companies that are like, we want to give you our entire portfolio. I might get all of Louisiana. I might get all of Los Angeles. I might get all.
By the way, did you get these? What was it, from organic or paid ads? Which one? I know we teach both strategies. Organic. No ad spend, pure amazing.
I had ad spend on our Facebook ads, but we didn't run very long, and we paused.
But like LinkedIn, right, kind of came in there. So that's the thing, right? So it's like we kind of have a dual prong strategy. It's like, we have paid and we have organic. So it's like, whichever one kind of comes first. From there, you kind of double in. And also another reason why we do 2 is like one of them will turn off, or there's going to be some sort of error, some sort of like your ad account may get disabled or some sort of policy on LinkedIn. That always happens. Like we're kind of, in some ways we are in the wild, wild west when it comes to that. So it's like, if we don't have leads, we don't have a business, but we can't I mean, that's not a real business then, right? It's just like we're just like freelancers with an LLC. So that's one of the reasons why we want to have multiple different forms of leads coming in, but not too many, right? Especially in the beginning, because if you focus on too many rabbits, you're not going to catch any. But yeah,
Right.
awesome. So
We
LinkedIn.
used Ulink and LinkedIn pretty heavily. I have maxed out back during the pandemic when everything shut down. I started
Yeah.
really focusing on my LinkedIn. So I'm capped out. I have 30,000 followers and I can't
Okay.
have any more.
Yeah.
But utilizing Ulink was a game changer for me because it's working in the background all the time and connecting or messaging with folks. And so that was really helpful for me as well. And then I
Amazing.
got an intern in for my other business, and she is
Yeah.
a young marketing student, and she's able to follow up on those and
On the
get
Ulink.
email
Yeah.
addresses for
Yeah.
me
Yeah.
and work as my setter. And so she's setting appointments, and she's never done it before. She's green. She's in college. She's just a marketing major, and she's doing an amazing job. And so,
Yeah.
throwing her some commission to be able to do that is exciting for
100%.
her.
Yeah.
It's
It's like
working well for our team.
salespeople are like a pure ROI game, right? So
Yeah.
it's like usually they're commission only, right? They may have, like a setter may have a small base, but it's like, as long as you have the lead flow coming in, which for example, from you're using Ulink. By the way, for the viewers who don't know what Ulink is an invite only software that we're partnered with. That basically, we help our clients, kind of get plugged in, but it basically kind of works where, you start getting leads coming in, the specific right type of leads. And that's exactly how Monica as well landed that client. So that's one of the pieces for, especially for our CEO, for our high level clients like Monica that we plug in, is through through Ulink there. But awesome. Monica, I'm curious, like, what are some of the highlights specifically that that you've had with us, like overall, over the past few months that you've been here with us?
I think it's really just been having that community. I love having Samantha Bell on Mondays.
Yeah, how's the Mindset Monday? I was just going to ask you that. I know you're on every call there.
Yeah, I love Mindset Mondays. I actually want to work with Samantha separately, just because one of the things I like about her that I want to share with others is she doesn't always share my same mantra or thought process or idea. And I like being challenged, and I like somebody that's going to stand up and say, well, wait a minute, let's talk about this further. Let's think about it from a different perspective. And it really has opened me personally. And that's really been a highlight. And then I love hopping on the calls and hearing the wins of others, or, what they're going through or leaning into. It's that community. I think that Slack community, I've had people in the program reach out and say, hey, Monica, I saw this, or, that looked great. Or, what are your advice? Or will you read my message? I'm going to read yours, that kind of thing. And so I think having a sense of community has been really awesome. And that's something I'm trying to do more of, is like when I made my video that I put in our Facebook group that I was like, guys, I got one.
Yeah, I saw
and
that.
I was so excited. Yeah. And I didn't even know at that point in time that it was going to be the volume, that it was a 60K contract. And so I think, sharing those wins with each other, or even the takeaways when you have a call and maybe it doesn't land like you want it, lean into the community here. And I'm always happy to help. And I know many others are as well. We all are opinionated. And so I love having this sense of community with you guys, and 100%. That's one thing that I've really enjoyed.
And that's one of the reasons why we really started to launch my agency, right? You mentioned sense of community. We believe 1 + 1 in business equals 11, not 2, right? So it's like, it just multiplies by so much. And a lot of times, especially as new entrepreneurs, we're like boxed in. Like, we're just like, oh, I'm just working on my own thing. And, at night, sometimes you start thinking like, oh, is this ever going to work? Or is this, am I going through these things? Or is it just me? Am I unlucky? Like, all these thoughts that just start to come in. But when you're part of a community, it's like, oh, everybody's been through that, right? Like, there isn't any, like, what you're going through is not special. Sorry to say that, right? Like, and this is something for ourselves as well. Like, we thought we were like, oh, we had a special case. But then when we started joining masterminds and other communities, we're like, hold up, people have been going through way worse things than this. You know what I mean? So it's like,
the commonality. Yeah,
exactly. It just gives you kind of that perspective there. But yeah, Monica, so one client, 60K, I know you're not stopping. I know this is just the beginning for you, right? So I'm sure the viewers are also super pumped and super excited. If you can tell us, kind of like what's next for you here, right? And then viewers, again, like, you guys can go ahead and ask any specific questions that you have for Monica. Towards the end, last 5 or 10 minutes, we'll spend it a little bit on, maybe Monica can answer a few questions there. And, go ahead and give us some likes and loves there, engage in the comments. But yeah, Monica, what's next for you from here? $60,000 client, what's next?
the next client. We've got appointments on the book, and I really would. I mean, I hope my next win is that I'm closing a portfolio from one of my third party management companies that I want to launch their entire platform and take over their digital marketing for them. My client that I told you guys about earlier that owns their own terminated. They fired their own organization, and so that was kind of like okay, well, this is interesting. But I think it's because of the messaging and because I understand. So I think as much research as you can do, come from a place of authenticity. But for me, it's I want to scale. And that's one of the things, you asked me earlier on about my business, and I already have a successful business. Why not continue that route? And it was multiple reasons, but one of those is scalability. I've hit that same 7 figures for the same last 5 years, and I want to scale, and I'm looking for verticals and avenues and opportunities for me to do that. And creating an agency and offering the digital support all in one spot was going to enable me to do that. So I think for me, it's really, I have some competitors, not a lot of competitors that have the tenure and experience and time and team behind them that we have. And so I think the opportunity for us to really become a big player in the property management space is there. That opportunity is there, and it's waiting for someone to come along and take it. And it's not that there's no providers out there, because there are, but they're not fulfilled by people with the tenure and experience.
Have the tenure. Okay. Perfect. I actually want to hit on that just a little bit, because a lot of people, they come to us, they don't have, they have a little bit of that fear, and it's completely normal, right? Whenever as humans we step into something, it's like we always want full control, like completely understand that. But what we believe is our uniqueness is like we try to establish a digital marketing agency based on your specific strengths, right? Because we want to give you as the client the biggest leverage that you can possibly get. And one of the worst mistakes people can make is like, for example, right? Like you came into real estate space. If you were like, hey, let's do e-commerce. You may know some a little bit about e-commerce, but what gives you the most advantage, right? It's probably in the real estate sector. So that's one of the things is like, we hold our clients accountable to that. Like, look, we want you to win really, really big. And especially the beginning phase is the hardest. That 0 to 10K mark is way harder than going from 10 to 100, by the way, right? So that's something that we just really take very seriously. So Monica, if you can touch a little bit upon like specifically for you, how did we like use your experience, the 35 years, of experience, and kind of like package that all up? Do you feel like that's one of the reasons why you landed that $60,000 client?
Well, I think that with experience comes knowledge. And so I think that's already there. I think that I really think it boils down to the process of doing that research and really listening to the messaging and putting yourself out of that mindset of perfection, just progress, just move forward, keep going, and then perfect as you go, tweak as you go, because you're going to do it anyway. And so I think for me, for landing that client, it was about that messaging being exactly, they thought that I was, everybody we've had, every call we've had, they're like, it's like you're reading my mind. This has been so needed for so long.
Yes. And these people are like cold, like, which is like complete strangers. Imagine a stranger telling you that, right? It's like, and one of the beliefs that we have, and Monica, you probably saw it in the curriculum that we have, is if you can explain a problem better than anyone else, but maybe even better than they even know that they have that problem, automatically they think you have a solution. You don't even have to go into the solution. It's like just explaining it. That's why the words, the packaging, the offer really, really matters. And I'll tell you guys, like, especially for the people watching as well, this part, the research phase, the building the offer, it's not very, sexy, right? People just want leads, but it's like, what brings leads, right? Let's ask why 3 times and we can get to the root of the answers. It's like, what attracts a lead? It's like, okay, your positioning, your marketing, and what makes that really strong is like how much research, how much in depth do you actually go? So that's one of the things is like, we hold all our clients to the highest level. It's like, we want each digital marketing agency to look different, unique, and superior than anyone else out there, right? And that's another common thing that we get is like, oh, if you're launching these agencies for other people, don't they all look the same? Absolutely not, because Monica has an agency in the real estate sector. We have other clients in the financial sector, in the e-commerce, and even for e-commerce, for example, we go deeper into like health and beauty products, right? So it's like each agency is based on the strengths of the owner, of the company CEO, and we come in and we help build that agency, according to what their strengths are, so they can have the highest leverage. in
Yeah,
the
you're
marketplace.
honing in on the zone of genius for each individual, and that's what they need to stay true to. If you get into your zone of genius, that area, then you're going to be successful because you're going to automatically, it's going to do a couple of things. It's going to fight that and combat that imposter syndrome that sets in. It's going to combat that lack of confidence that you may have or need to exude in your sales. And so if you stick to your zone of genius and you do your research and then you can confidently go in and sell pretty much anything to anybody.
Yeah.
But you've got to have that, you've got to be in that area. And so, yeah, I would agree with you. I think, I could have said, okay, I want to do e-commerce or I want to do something else. And my husband's very interested in that, would have been an easy turn for me. But I knew that after spending as many years as I have in a sector, that I have so much wisdom and knowledge that I've learned through the years that I can push out that will resonate with my ideal client, that's where I needed to focus. And so that's what I did. And then for me, moving forward, I just want to close on more and more real estate folks. And then I want to branch out into other verticals from the digital agency side.
Amazing. Okay. So kind of like, yeah. So
and
what's your goal?
I set a goal of 100K a month right off the bat. And I started it, the budget, the way it's supposed to be hitting 100K for my budgets by May, June, per month.
I think you're going to do this by the end of this week.
I hope so. We're at a conference this week, so hopefully some more stuff will come out of that.
So one thing I'll just say is I really love what you did, right? In the beginning, you landed that first client for 16K, but then you upsold them to 60 grand. And if you ever want to sell your agency, and that's not only for Monica, but anyone watching, maybe some of the people who come in, they already have agencies as well. It's if you have an agency if you have retainers that are for long-term, like a year, 2, 3 years even, the value of your agency is way, way higher than someone making way more than you in a month, right? So a quick example, say you make only 50K a month versus the other person who makes 100K a month. But if you're 50K a month, if those retainers are locked in for 2, 3, 4 years versus the guy making 100K a month, he's only month to month, you will sell for a way higher multiple than that person, right?
And that's what I learned. Yeah. In some of my masterminds, I was talking to a guy and he was talking to me about valuations, and it was a 20%. I could sell my business for 20%, but I would get 80% more value on it by having that recurring revenue. And so that really caused me to think of more modeling my services in that manner so that I could create that long lasting value.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. So if you could give one piece of advice that you've taken or adopted, along your journey, that's kind of contributed to where you are today. Again, just launching from 0 to 60K real quick. What would that be?
I think do your research, know your business. Don't give up. Those are multiple advices, but I think it's that perseverance. It's easy. I was actually on a podcast recently, My Kick-Ass Careers. And one of the things that I said on there was I had imposter syndrome. I don't ever come across as insecure or lack of confidence or things like that. But it set in because I felt like, okay, I've created this business that's successful over here in the consulting space, and people know that, but I thought people in the space would be like, oh, now she's a digital marketing specialist. Great, right? You can tell yourself those limiting beliefs and beat yourself down, and don't let yourself get in those spaces. Persevere and stand up and know that you're in your zone of genius. And I mean, there's not anybody that can approach me to talk about real estate that's going to out-talk me about real estate. And not in my sector anyway, not in the property management field. And so having that confidence and leaning into it and knowing that those experiences, all of us can learn. And I'm a forever desire to learner. I want to continue to learn all the time. But I think that, keep growing and allowing yourself, and don't pigeonhole yourself or put yourself in a corner. And then, I think the other piece of advice I would give is, as I'm trying to do everything with everyone, you don't have to. Yeah. But I think as a business owner, when you have a firm understanding of all the moving pieces and what it takes to execute and not execute, that's how you protect yourself in a number of ways, whether it be, knowing the person you're hiring is doing the things that you need and want them to do, but also if they got struck by a bus, who's going to carry on? So, there's
having systems and SOPs is very, very important. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Awesome. Cool. Have a few more minutes for a couple questions, Monica. Is that okay?
Totally fine.
Last questions. By the way, guys, this is your time. This is your chance to kind of ask any questions either to myself or Monica, and we'll go ahead and answer those. So, all right, let's see what we have going on in the chat. All right. So, how are you guys able to take someone so new to something so big so far this quickly? We're not going to take all the credit because Monica comes in from a really, 35 years of experience, right? She has experience in a different area though, but that's the beauty about this, right? So it's like we come in with our specialties, like marketing is like research, offer creation, lead generation, closing. Like these are the things that we come in with. Monica comes in from her, her whole career, 35 years in the real estate space, combined together, right? This is the key part. Combine all these things together. 1 + 1 = 11. And in this case, you guys saw 0 to 60K with one client. I mean, this is amazing, but this is exactly what we can, I'm not going to say this is exactly what we can expect, but this is not very uncommon, right? Like as long as we go deep, as long as we do the things that we, the clients do the things that we ask them to, and we do the things that we're supposed to do on our end, like the results are absolutely phenomenal, right? And I just want to emphasize something real quick. Her landing the 60K client, it doesn't mean that, it's like, I wouldn't focus too much on the money. I would focus on the system. This is what got you to 60. It's like, maybe we can 10x this, right? 600K, 6 million. Like guys, business wise is a complete different than being an employee, right? Like as an employee, you're like specific hours that you have to work with, but in business, it's like figuring out that one system is like, oh, this is it. Everything just lights up. So the true value is not 60 grand. It's who knows how much. It's way, way more than that. But it's like landing that first client, guys, is everything, right? Anything you want to add to that, Monica, or you want to move on to the next question?
Just remember that it was a $5,500 offer that I went to with, and that's what he agreed immediately on because he needed something fast. And then I was able to say, you don't need just one, you need 3 of this. So that was 15,000, almost 16,000. And then by the way, let's do it for a year because you're going to see your best results. And then it locked it in. And so I think
ask and you shall receive, right? A big part of people, like they're just like, they're on their own way. And you'll be surprised if again, we come in from a place, if people can truly feel genuine care, that we actually care about the client, they're ready to do anything that you ask them to, right? As long as they can understand that, oh, this person is competent and they actually care, right? And it's just a matter of just asking, right? Like it's that simple, right? Awesome, cool. So next question is, what process do you guys use to get your clients such deals? So yeah, in this case, we touched a little bit upon it, is LinkedIn. So we use both, in the beginning, there's so many different strategies, but it's like, we focus in on the 10% that's going to move the 90% for our clients, right? For our partners. So for Monica, it was LinkedIn, and it's paired up with it's an invite only tool. It's called Ulink. I don't think you can even like Google it. It's like a very hidden type of thing. We know the owners, we're partnered up with them, and we basically bring the systems that they have and we plug it in for all of our clients there. So, Monica got that special thing that we have. And again, it's part of, Launch My Agency there. Yeah. All right. And then, how did you guys come up with your $1 million agency system? Yeah, like we came up with this for ourselves, right? When we first launched, it's like we didn't know what was. Someone says do this, the other person says do the complete opposite. They're both successful online, and it's like as a user, as a person, you're like really confused. What is it? Do I need? So when we came up with Launch My Agency and like the $1 million agency system, it's like, what's the 10% that's going to move the 90%? Not only for our clients, but it's like if we were to go start from zero. What is that thing, right? No fluff, no BS. What's that 10%? So this is what the 10% is. And as you guys can see the results for yourself, Monica has them there. And then not everyone has the entrepreneur mind like Monica. So how are you guys able to transform how someone goes about a situation? Maybe Monica, you can hit on that a little bit of like maybe the mindset side of things. Go ahead, go for it.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think it is all mindset. And I think that if you don't have the entrepreneur mindset, you need to read books, study, hang around with some entrepreneurs. You're going to see trends amongst us. They're very similar, even in different niches. But I think it's just having that piece of perseverance. If you want to succeed and you have the will and the drive. I come from the mindset of anybody, and I literally mean this, anybody can do anything they set their mind to if they want to bad enough. And whether that's losing weight, which is challenging, or launching an agency or making your first $1 million, it's all about hitting that ground and going. And then I wouldn't concentrate too much, concentrate on that first offer and getting that first one under your belt and then building within. And I know I've only had one on my agency side so far, but more's to come. And I'm happy to share those as they happen. And if you guys have specific questions, feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
As well. I think if you're not entrepreneur, you have to be entrepreneur minded of some sort to even want to do this. And what I will tell you about entrepreneurship, and I think Christian and Zarar could probably agree, is it's very lonely. And so that's why these areas where you have community are so important, because you can lean into others that can kind of, understand what you're going through, where your family and your friends probably aren't going to be. And don't count on your clients being your friends and family. A client will become a friend before a friend will become a client. And that was a really hard lesson for me to learn. I'm very much an empath. I thought that the people in my 30-year career would be, they know me, they know my reputation. It's very good. And they know I'm great at turning assets around and things like that. And so I thought they would come flocking to me. And I've had to earn every bit of business I've gotten. And that's been a big takeaway as well.
Everything is earned in life, right? And yeah, I'll
Yes.
just on the mindset part a little bit. It's like 50% is skill set, but the other 50% is mindset, right? And
Yeah.
it may sound cheesy or whatever, but it's true, right? Like a lot of times we're on our own way. And I'll
Mhm.
tell you guys, even at the highest level, like we're, currently I live in this spot. There's CEO of Pepsi also has an apartment here, and there's some really, really high level people here. A lot of people have mindset coaches, even at the highest levels, right? And it's just like a bodybuilder. He's not going to be training by himself. A true professional bodybuilder, they have a coach, they have a partner, a mentor. So why is it? I mean, this really baffles me. Why is it that when we first start off in business, brand new, it's like, oh, we're going to do it all alone. It
Yeah.
doesn't,
I don't know.
right? It
Well,
doesn't
you
make
don't
any.
know what you don't know. So there's that.
That's also true. Yeah. So that's exactly, again, someone asked like why we came up with $1 million agency system. It's because of this. It's like we know what it takes from the beginning. It's, man, it's so brutal, right? And it's like the hopes and dreams rely on, like what we view is we have a philosophy of, our clients' hopes and dreams rely on our shoulders. So every time we say that, it's like, man, it's a very heavy weight, very heavy thing. So that's why we try to go all out when it comes to our clients. But yeah, I believe that's pretty much it for the questions there. Last thing, Monica, on your end, I wanna ask you, like, what would you say to someone that is considering joining, Launch My Agency and the CEO program that we have?
I would say don't think that you're just going to come in and sit down in a seat and fill out some paperwork and then everything's going to be just go. That's not the case. And it is going to take work on your part. But remember that work that you put in will triple fold pay out when you come back on the other side to close and launch your business. And so I think I wanted the framework and you guys provided that. And there were parts that, applied that I needed more and parts that I didn't because I already was running a business. So I didn't need those
Yeah.
pieces, but I was able to navigate that pretty easily. And Chris really, he was really good in working with me and knowing my level and personally knowing me. And so he knew that like Monica's probably not going to turn her homework in every Sunday night. That's a no. But that's who she is. And so, but still just touching base with me and things like that. But being involved, and then don't let the imposter syndrome or the negative things you can tell yourself get in your head. And if something isn't working, you're not a tree, pivot, move, like change it around a little bit. You're going to find the thing that works. But if you come from a place always of, I'm going to solve your problem because I'm knowledgeable and I can, and here's how, you're going to win because that's what they want. That's what they need. And so doing that legwork on the back end, that research, and then don't just sit by and count on the pieces provided to you from LMA. You've got to work it. If you want it, nothing comes easy. Nothing's given to us. And so, you've got to do your part. And that means going out. And that means, where I've got an intern working on my behalf, doing other things for me to try to help reach this. I'm at a conference this week that's a property management industry marketing summit that's out in Cali. And I have a team there to relaunch Impact and talk about our agency. And so I think, education and just staying true to yourself, and then don't limit yourself and don't just be present to check the boxes to say, I attended the meeting, I did the homework, I watched the video or whatever. It's more than that. And that's the most critical piece I could say to anybody is it's going to take a lot from you. But if you want this, you should be willing. If you're going to make this investment, you should be willing to do whatever it takes to help it grow and blossom. And that's my advice.
And that's one of the things I just want to touch on is like people, when we say it's done for you, it doesn't mean that you're passive, it's just sitting there, right? Let's be very clear on that. The done for you part is the foundations of your business, right? And in this case, again, you guys can see the results, but Monica there's some level of, it's a partnership, right? Like we're all rowing in the same direction. So you can't just like sit there and just, have the boat go. It's like, there's going to be some things that we need from Monica, right? And that there's some things that from the team that we have, we have about 40 employees that, overall graphic designers, copywriters, media buyers, like all the things that you need from an agency, they're there, but we need both parties to be on the same page, to be rowing in the same direction, to be able
Yeah.
to have some of the results here. But yeah, with that being said, Monica, really appreciate you
Sure.
joining here, and I think it's very valuable for the people watching this, to get some value there. But is there any closing thoughts that you may have that you may want to leave the viewers with?
No, I think I'll be back as long as I can keep reporting in, and I will keep you guys in the know of what's going on. And I look forward to reporting bigger numbers here soon, and kind of growing and showing what can be done if you really apply yourself and put yourself to it. And you're not boxed in. You've got support, you've got resources there, but you've also got other opportunities to kind of investigate and work on. And we're all learning together. And as long as we're all rolling together, as you explained in the boat, then we're going to reach a point of success at some point. But you've got to be open, you've got to be diligent, you've got to be engaged, and you've got to really be driving that, steering the boat. You can't just be taking photos.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Monica. And for the people watching the replay, go ahead and type any questions down below, and maybe Monica can answer. If not, then I'll be happy to answer there. But yeah, with that being said, Monica, I think everybody's looking forward to your success even in the future. The trajectory that you have is amazing. Like you're almost on track to have a 7-figure agency. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, let's just keep continuing to build on top, on top of this. And yeah, with that being said, thank you for sharing your story, a little bit about your journey here with us. And yeah, hope to see you soon.
Awesome. Right? Thanks so much.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.